Michele, it's one of the hardest things I've dealt with in my lifetime. I mean, I've dealt with a lot of crazy things. If you read my book, you know you've read it, you've written about it, all these things that I've done. But the thing about Chris Cornell and Soundgarden, Audio Slave, and his solo work, Temple of the Dog, we became very close. And it's no secret to people about the same kind of struggles I had, but he and I know a lot about depression, it's a daily fight. People think that it's not real. Well, it's more than real. It's, you can be like, it can cripple you at a period. Or if you're like me and like Chris was, unbelievably, Chris was a strong, driven man. And, we both battled depression. He and I would, sometimes just sit and talk about how we were feeling about. So, for him, it was music. It was like, we discovered the Beatles when we were kids. That's what he loved, And, Chris was this guy who, was quite a loner as a kid, So he, there was a neighbor who left a bunch of Beatles albums when they moved out, their vinyl, and he went over and grabbed it, and it drove him to become this singer and the amazing talent he was in Soundgarden. So Chris always said to me, he goes, look, I would sing over George, John, and Paul, and I would add an extra octave, another harmony, and that's how he learned how to sing. He taught himself how to sing, but he was a lovely man, and one of my best friends, and we walked the line so many times together as brothers. You know what I mean? So this is very, very devastating to me as a fan of Chris's, as a friend, and when you're fighting back in life against some of the things that you don't have the most control over. I mean, he had been sober for a long time, but, we still have to deal with what's in our head. And I think for Chris, it was tough for a long time. And he found the beauty in the music, the safety in the music, the solace in the music. Chris's thing was that he, when he was on stage or he was writing a song or he was performing or he was recording, that was where he wanted to stay. But then again, you get out of that situation, there's so many things going on around you. We loved rock and roll more than anything in the world. We still do. I still do. And, it saved all of us when we were kids. At the end of the day, I lost somebody I love so much, and his music gave me so much joy.
And Matt, you went back all the way, like 1990, the Fast Lane, right? That show a long time ago here at the Shore.
Yeah. I've been, Chris and I and the whole band were friends forever. We just had an understanding. They're one of my favorite bands of all time. They were uncompromisingly great, never expected to get as successful, but also loved rock and roll and knew that that was a good thing. At first, it might have been a little uncomfortable for them, like some of those other Seattle bands. Then they realized to embrace it, which they should have. Chris loved his kids. They always said he had 2 kids. He's got 3 because Lily's from the first marriage. And, I know them all so well. When he did the Audio Slave tour and got sober the first time, he called me every night. Every night we'd talk on the phone. He'd go on stage with Audio Slave, do I Am the Highway, and what's so funny about Peace, Love, and Understanding, Elvis Niccolo. And they'd call me, and we would stay on the phone. I'd stay on the phone with him. And, we'd get through it, That's what us brothers and sisters do for each other to get us through the struggles that we have in our lives, Without friendship, without love, what do you got? What do you got? So I'm still just trying to make heads or tails of it. I know how much Chris suffered with depression, and he and I would sit and talk for such a long time about, what that's like, about what it's like to, go, everything's great, and then all of a sudden it's like this black cloud comes over your head, and you're like, whoa, you know? And he and I escaped and got through it through music. You know, I mean, rock and roll, we love music. Music is everything. For me, music is everything. And losing this friend who was such a kindred spirit. And you know what, man? And one of the greatest singers of all time, I always used to say to him, Chris, I go, please don't ever go anywhere because the world needs you, man.